As you may have seen from the announcement, gentlemen, the Steel Continents Assault World Raid event is about to be released soon. If you have participated in a world raid before, then this will not be entirely new to you. Except this time some parts of the user interface are fully rendered in 3D, and most of them are actually interactive instead of being simple static PNG images. The shop will also be filled with a large amount of books, discs, artifacts, gifts, and Toki Elves, all of which are resources you will most likely need. Naturally, you will require event currency in order to purchase them. To obtain the event currency, you must participate in defeating the world raid bosses. There are 4 difficulties available, with difficulty D being roughly equivalent to torment difficulty in regular raids. The rewards vary depending on the difficulty, but difficulty D is definitely the most worthwhile. Difficulty C is perfectly fine if you feel your roster is not strong enough, or lacks the necessary meter units to clear D. The ticket cost also differs, with C requiring 10 tickets, while D requires 20. If you participate in any difficulty and fail, you may continue the same battle with the cost of only 1 World Raid ticket. World Raid tickets regenerate every hour, so you may simply wait if you run out. Alternatively, you can purchase additional tickets from the shop using Pyrex, though the more tickets you buy, the more expensive they become. My suggestion is that if you truly want to farm Toki as much as possible, then purchasing at least 5 additional tickets per day during the first assault is worth considering. During the first assault phase, the currency exchange is genuinely valuable, especially if your goal is repeatedly purchasing Toki Elves. However, during the second and third assault phases, when fighting against Malkuth and Ekagrammaton, the currency exchange becomes significantly less worthwhile due to the extremely poor conversion rates. For example, let us simplify the currencies as A, B, and C. Currency A becomes available during the first assault, and you can directly use it to purchase many items, including Toki Elves. Currency B becomes available during the second assault after defeating Malkuth. Once again, you can purchase many resources from the shop, but you cannot directly buy Toki Elves. Instead, you must exchange currency B into currency A, requiring 3B just to obtain 1A. Currency C becomes available during the final battle against Ekagrammaton. Similar to the others, you can purchase many items, but once again, not Toki Elves directly. Instead, you must exchange C into B, then B into A, requiring 9C to obtain 3B, and then 3B to obtain 1A. So effectively, purchasing 4 Toki Elf requires either 900C or 300B. At that point, it is most likely not worth spending Pyrex to purchase additional raid tickets purely for farming currency during the second and third world raid phases. Now then, the important question, is Toki worth farming and building? Technically speaking, not really. At least for now. The issue is that her entire kit currently feels somewhat disconnected from the available content, making it difficult to justify where she is truly meant to excel. Some players claim she is useful for Pyr or Oddsala Lunatic or similar content, but that is still questionable. But first, let us talk about her kit. She is apparently a striker support unit. Her X skill functions differently depending on the target. If used on an ally, she heals them and dispels one debuff. If used on an enemy, she deals damage and applies a stun effect. The stun duration itself is not particularly impressive, which leaves its practical usefulness somewhat uncertain. As for the rest of her skills, they seem acceptable overall, though it is genuinely difficult to properly evaluate them due to the absence of suitable content. However, if you have been following the BAJP news, then you may already know that a new raid boss is expected to arrive soon, and most likely, it will require students capable of dispelling debuffs. Now, you may ask why I am so confident in assuming this mechanic will become relevant. The reason is because we have recently been seeing more and more students with debuff dispelling abilities appearing in succession. Toki, Pikoyuki, Rina, Nico, and Erika. Because of this, many players strongly suspect that these dispel-focused students are intentionally being designed for that upcoming raid boss. That being said, we still need to wait patiently before making definitive conclusions. Returning to Toki once again, Is it worth farming her elves to at least 5 stars? Honestly, I am still uncertain, but just in case she becomes useful later, then perhaps it is worth doing. However, that does not mean I am telling you to recklessly purchase World Raid tickets non-stop just for her. Only buy additional tickets if you genuinely want to farm a Toki elves for absolutely no reasonable reason whatsoever. If you do not care about farming her elves, or simply buy however many you can casually afford, that is perfectly fine too. We still have not fully seen her true potential until the new raid boss finally arrives. Now then, one more important thing regarding the world raid itself. The final milestone rewards, which include Pyrex and tickets, remain permanently claimable until collected. So even if you are behind on story progression or unable to participate fully right now, you may still obtain those final rewards later. However, you will miss the opportunity to purchase limited shop resources once the event ends. As for the boss mechanics and battle progression, I would say the fights are quite similar to regular raids against the Decagrammaton Prophets, except this time, you are not completely free to choose whichever boss you want to fight first. Instead, bosses must be defeated in a proper order. The first boss is naturally Bina, since there is no alternative route at the beginning. Defeating Bina grants passive stat enhancing abilities. The second boss is Kether. Everyone is highly encouraged to defeat Kether, because doing so unlocks missile support. These missiles are extremely powerful against dangerous enemies, dealing significant damage with a 20-second cooldown, and you should use them as frequently as possible. Ignoring Kether and attempting to challenge other bosses immediately can make the entire battle dramatically harder and may even lead to instant failure. In fact, Kether will actively assist Jebura in defeating you by launching devastating missiles that deal near instant lethal damage. Even Cheesed will happily send its Goliaths to ruin your day. You can actually observe the directional lines on the map. Circles represent the origin boss sending reinforcements toward the triangle marked target boss. In simple terms, defeat the support boss first unless you enjoy suffering. The third boss is Cheesed. Defeating Cheesed is extremely important because it grants the ability to summon Goliaths yourself. These Goliaths deal massive AoE damage, possess cooldowns, and can be used infinitely throughout battle. Honestly, they are incredibly impressive and make fighting Tifereth significantly easier. At some points, the Goliaths practically hard carry your students. Defeating Tifereth itself does not grant a new ability, but instead upgrades and enhances the abilities obtained from previous bosses. The fourth boss is Hod. Defeating Hod grants access to Hod pillars, which provide shields and cost regeneration for your students. They also have cooldowns but unlimited usage. Personally, I found Hod extremely difficult to clear with a single team, so needing a second attempt for difficulty D is entirely expected. After Hod, you may choose between 3 bosses, Tifereth, Jebura, or Chopma. All 3 are exceptionally difficult to clear on difficulty D with only 1 team, so second or even third attempts should be expected. Anyway, to conclude, World Raid features improved interactions and a resource-filled shop that includes 8 Toki elves. Always participate to earn rewards and currency, since the shop resources are genuinely valuable. The first assault phase is worth purchasing additional tickets for if you are interested in farming 8 Toki elves. Once Malkut and Decagrammaton phases begin, purchasing tickets becomes significantly less worthwhile due to the terrible exchange ratios. Defeat bosses in order. Ignoring mechanics can cause bosses to assist one another and make fights substantially harder. 4 difficulties are available, with difficulty D being equivalent to Torment. Starting at E difficulty battle costs 20 WR tickets, while C costs 10. Failed battles may be continued for only 1 WR ticket. Each defeated boss strengthens the core level, while certain bosses grant battlefield abilities. Kether grants missiles that deal damage and damage over time. Cheesed grants Goliath summons that deal massive AoE damage. Hod grants shields and cost regeneration to your students. All abilities have cooldowns but unlimited usage. As for Itoki, she is currently not particularly useful due to the lack of content that properly supports her role and abilities. However, many players expect the next raid boss to require debuff dispelling students, which could potentially give a Toki meaningful relevance in the future. Or perhaps not at all. I believe that should cover everything. Do not miss the limited World Raid event. It is genuinely quite fun. Well, perhaps not entirely fun. But at the very least, the shop resources are far too valuable to ignore. And that should be all. As always, Godspeed.